I'm that girl who loves to chat with friends, and boy, can we just chat, 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 chat forever and ever and ever. And this is significant because what we're going to talk about is really helpful for others to understand their own sessions and what happens afterwards and during as we unpack the information. So, hi, my friend who you don't mind whatever I call you because we're just that comfortable and real with each other. So, I'm just going to call you my friend for today.
That works fine for me.
Good. I honestly think we could get into so much freaking trouble because we've got wicked, naughty, dirty, similar humor, and I think this could be a hot mess.
Wait, I changed my mind. I want to be called Warrior Princess. No, just kidding.
Done, my warrior princess. Yeah. Well, I mean, jokes aside, there actually has been princesses and warriors in past lifetimes. And so it's not your ego that you're trying to like impress upon us now. So we think, oh my gosh, she's fantastic. You are fantastic because you have been fantastic because you are and have been a warrior princess fucking hero with all of your lifetimes you've just jumped in and out of. I mean, it's real. It's impressive. Like it is truly inspirational and impressive. And as a volunteer here, having her first fantastic lifetime here on Earth, it's I don't know, like it's kind of intimidating how many insane lifetimes you've had here.
Yes. Yeah, that was another thing. After our session, and that was maybe the next morning, and I know that we had discussed my relationship to Gaia. And so I had asked the subconscious in my conscious mind, have I ever been a planet before? And immediately the word many popped into my mind. Almost
Mm.
like, are you kidding? You've been lots of planets,
Mm.
so like pick one.
We're so fixated on one lifetime or a few that we are aware of, and yet we're so clueless to our true full soul history. It's it I think it would be almost impossible to live these lives as human while being very well aware and have full recollection of all the other things we've done.
Yeah, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that our human minds can't uh, handle the idea of time and it being so endless. So let's say that all of us have been many planets, and these planets, their lifespan, let's say, are billions and billions of years. And that's just one form of many that we've had, right? So if we've been multiple planets and those planets live billions of years and all these other lifetimes, that concept of time, I think, is hard for our human minds to grasp.
It's very convoluted because I know when we ask in sessions about time and from their perspective, I could have, a year in between sessions, and then I say to the subconscious, from your perspective, how long has it been since we've chatted? And they're like, didn't even have time for a cup of tea.
Right.
It's marvelous. And so can you, I mean, I don't want to go too personal about your session, which was insanely
I'm
advanced.
I'm open. You can ask me anything. It doesn't bother me. If it will help somebody, ask me.
Okay, so what we did is that we explored lifetimes and then we went to where you went after that lifetime. So what happened next after you left your body? Now, can you explain one of those experiences? And I think it's would be really helpful for others who have had the same experiences, who've never listened to your session, but have had their own sessions, because this is confirmation that their sessions are legitimate.
Are you referring to the wall of light?
How do you describe that?
Um, so what I understood, that was the what we would call the other side. It's not physical, it's not having any form. It's where our consciousness goes in between these little plays or games that we have between lives. So I didn't get to see, I wasn't shown everything in this particular session, but from what I could see, it was endless. It resembled space, but it was much more colorful. But the point that they wanted me to keep seeing is this huge endless wall of bright white light that separates what would you, I guess what some would call heaven. I don't know what you want to call it, or the afterlife, and everything else, everything that we have here, everything that we have in the physical. So it's almost like a veil, but it's a wall of light. And if you're on one side, you are in the spirit world. And if you're on the other, you have form of some sort. So it was very interesting. I kept going back, and it's like whenever they would show me in front of the wall, I was already prepared for the next life. Everything had been planned. I knew what it was going to be. I just had to step through the wall, which is not as easy. I mean, it's very intimidating, I think.
Because it did seem like there was some delay on your behalf when you knew you were supposed to go. It was quite, I mean, it was kind of amusing and kind of humorous. It was so cute that you had come out of these intensive lifetimes. You were sort of there by this wall. You're kind of like collecting your thoughts and feelings. You kind of knew that there were others around you, preparing yourself for the next choice of life that you're about to jump into. But then
Yes.
you noticed that there was some hesitancy on your soul's part to go for it. And it was almost like you kind of were sort of saying, oh, I'm procrastinating a bit. I know I'm supposed to jump through that wall or walk through that wall and go there, but I'm kind of just wanting to catch my breath.
Do you know what it reminded me of? You remember being in school and you had the school play and you were standing on the side of the stage and it was about to be time for your part.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to go out on the stage. You know your lines, you know everything, but those butterflies, but you've got to do it, right?
Yeah, you do. And so you sort of, and it was kind of like, I don't know how many times we found you on that wall, sort of like, okay, I'm here again. I'm just gonna, just sort of, just was like,
I think twice during that session, maybe two, 3 times. I don't know.
Trying to like psych yourself up to go. And then you went through it and you discovered and you saw a baby. And how was that?
The one time they showed me incarnating as like it looked like a human baby, it was like, it was not. I was like, oh, I'm this wet. It's just what I remember feeling wet and having no control of my limbs, and I was like, oh, I can't believe I've got to do this. It's so humiliating. That's what it felt like,
And it was kind of like, how are you feeling? And you're like, beneath me. This is beneath me. I'm an advanced being.
Yes.
This is bullshit. Human again. And it was almost kind of like you knew what, because we'd just been with you near this wall. You're psyching yourself up. You knew you were doing this. You're going to go for it. You just had a few more breaths of psych yourself up to jump in through this wall. And then it was almost like in real time during the session, you'd forgotten all what you'd prepped for. And then you're like,
yes.
I'm wet and a baby human. What the hell? Like,
and I'm helpless and wet.
That's right. It was like, I don't even know how to work this body. it was quite sad. But
I still haven't learned very much about how to work this body.
User error, always user error. It was kind of like remarkable to be able to talk so freely and fluently to your soul essence in near this wall, knowing all that's going on, and then like definitely knowing that the consciousness I was speaking to had forgotten what we were just speaking about in terms of why the purpose and significance of the lifetime you were jumping into.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And I can also tell because I was shown different types of lives. I can tell that human life, the difference was how do I explain this? It's like the other lives I knew who I was. I knew who I was and I was in those lives. And in the human life, I did not.
I would say on the earth life.
Yes, the earth life, I did not know who I was, because it showed me through more memories of that life, and I was completely in that life. I had no idea of the bigger soul that I was. And in the other lives, I had a grasp of who I was.
Yeah, that veil that of that sort of like going through that.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, proof that, the lives here are hard. And I guess that's why we want to do them. We know that we're being dunked in with no memory, but yet we still choose to do this.
And when I asked the subconscious, is she a victim? And the subconscious, what did they say?
That
You're
I
the
was a no kamikaze. I was a kamikaze. That
she
I love it. I
loves it
love
all.
it. The harder, the better. The harder, the better. Oh my gosh.
I mean, you can't complain about it. Like,
But no, apparently I do frequently.
I think that's what we sort of call the official life contract remorse
Yeah.
when you're going through it, right?
Yeah.
And so they sort of said you haven't had that many lifetimes here on Earth. But
No, I think they said I had many.
no, as in like you had many in real crucial times here on Earth.
Yes.
So end of Atlantis.
Yes.
And what were you doing? What was the role? We didn't explore it too much, but they kind of was
No, no. That we didn't explore in this session. So I don't know, but I'd love to maybe in the next session we can explore. But I have this terrible fear of water and drowning, and I truly think it's from that life.
Well, that was one of your questions. Did you have an Atlantis or a Lemuria lifetime? And they said yes. What are they? Yes to both or yes to one?
I don't know. I'd have to listen back. I'm not sure.
How many times have you listened to your session?
I've listened to it once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fully sit down. I've listened to it once
And
from beginning to end.
I mean, that's heroes work because they keep saying, if I had asked your subconscious how many times do you want her to listen to it, they would normally say three. At
Okay.
least
Well,
three.
I'm going to continue to listen to it for sure.
It's each time you listen to it, you get a new layer of level of it. And so now you've had the session and you're noticing how more connected you are to the subconscious as you're recognizing their energy frequency and how to attune into them. And so you're feeling like you're super still connected in with them and getting real-time information.
I feel that, and I also feel even more high frequency since that session, honestly.
Well, yeah, because you released some real trauma from other lifetimes that were seriously impacting you this lifetime. And that's the beauty of healing.
Yes, definitely.
So
Definitely.
your subconscious is fantastic. And so what did your subconscious do in preparation for you to have a session? Gave you the most traumatic recollection of a horrific thing in a dream just before the session so you could release
Yes.
it.
2 nights before the session, I had the most horrible dream I've had in my going to be 49 years of life. And it was my child being brutally raped.
Hideous.
Very small child. Yeah. It was horrible. I was devastated for a good 24 hours. It was really hard.
Yeah, you're
Really
almost
hard. The density was, it was unbearable.
and it's not really a sales pitch, is it? Sign up and have a session with Joe beforehand. You'll have
Yeah.
this horrific nightmare of your entire life, just so the subconscious can then bring it up in a session so we can ask why on earth, what is the significance of it? And it's purposeful, and you do feel that release of that density. But yeah, because they did say it's a huge thing. You've been carrying this emotionally around with you this entire lifetime, probably knowing that you were supposed to heal from that this lifetime.
Right. Right. And I don't know if everyone's going to have this terrible nightmare right before a session. I did specifically ask, in the recent, this past weeks, that I wanted to know what else I needed to heal from. So it's like, if you ask, you will receive. So, but whether they have a nightmare or a dream before or after, or just a memory during the session, I mean, I do believe that our guides are there to help us heal any way they can.
Yeah, and like when people say I want to be healed, and then we sort of magically think that we're just going to be instantly amazing. Well, it's a process and it's a journey. With that, we have to be triggered to feel it, to heal it, and it is not pleasant when they're like, oh, you want some healing? Here, we're going to give you a whole lot of trauma to just like process and work through. You're welcome, you asked for it, and you're again classic kamikaze's brave soul that's like, give it to me all.
Yes, but I tell you, that nightmare had me had me in the fetal position. It was hard. It was really, really hard. But I also feel like we have to do this, and we have to do this now. Like,
Mm.
we have to dig up all this hard stuff and deal with it, even if it's a lot at one time. I
Yeah.
just feel like the clock is ticking. We've got to do this.
Yeah, because yeah, your subconscious was not shy in giving in terms of senses of, when the shift's going to be coming and all this sort of stuff. Like you got some advanced information there. And, I know you even sort of said to me, maybe we can't do the session because this dream has got me shook. It was a nightmare and a half. And I was like, oh no, it's all purposeful. Like we're doing it anyway. Like I must sound sadistic. Like, yeah, good, good. Oh, good. That sounds good. We'll ask about that. But I do try to ask, do you have you had any recurring dreams? Is there any fears you've got? Let's explore it all in a session. And this is why I like to be able to do many sessions with clients, because the more they realize asking these silly questions can actually be really profound.
And there are no silly questions, right?
True. True. Only sim only silly the only silliness is our limitations and blocks where I know too painful, don't want to explore that. If it's too painful, it has to be healed. You're still holding the feeling of the trauma to then get to the clarifications and the significance of it. We know we're supposed to learn and grow from the trauma. But if you just only want to sit with the trauma, then it's a bit indulgent at this point, right? When we know we're supposed to grow profoundly and quickly.
Part of me wishes I had that nightmare, decades ago, because, I had this fear as a child. I was always afraid of men. I had this sickening feeling all the time, and it was horrible. And then when I had my own children, I'm so paranoid and petrified of something happening to them. If
Mm.
I'd have healed before, maybe I would have been spared that.
Or what if you were too blasé about it, too trusting, and then something happened to your kids? Everything is significant. And if you've got the same soul, you know that even though if they'd shown you what your daughter would have looked like in that lifetime, you would have been like, oh, doesn't affect me. I don't recognize it.
True.
Because we're still, even in regressions, we're still looking at the meat suits and judging it. And this is why a lot of people will see, oh, no, it's my mum this lifetime. She's here in this regression. I can see her. And then we sort of, and it's confusing for the client because they're like, how come my mum looked exactly the same in this lifetime that she did in that lifetime? And the subconscious will say, this is to help you understand why she's in your lifetime and what roles you've played. I would say, well, did they look exactly the same? And the subconscious is like, no, we're just trying to help you humans understand the significance of each other's souls.
Wow.
Mm. So
I definitely would like to explore my mother more in
Mhm.
another session, for sure.
Sure. And so, it's layered. We don't want to we can't squish everything into one session. I like to sort of, spread it out and support. And the more you do the sessions, the more you trust the sessions and the process and realize I'm not there with ulterior motives. I truly listen. I truly care about you. I truly want to support you and have a good relationship with your subconscious. So you get more and more and more used to that sense of channeling. And I know you do. I mean, you've done so much profound things in other lifetimes that we kept asking, give her these skill sets here now. And they said, sure, right? Like you're going to get back more wisdom of your healing and your attunement to crystals and other tools to empower you. It's very exciting. Like I mean, you must have been pretty giddy and pretty excited about the future, even though you heard quite brutally about the shift and all that sort of stuff.
Yes, I am excited. I am excited. And yeah, I'm very excited for what comes next. Definitely.
Mm.
Definitely. And I do understand also, thanks to my sessions and a lot of my past lives, I was using this particular skill set, and it was the ending of worlds. And so I know that that's the skill set that I'm bringing here as well.
Mm. So just a note to self, if you're in a lifetime and you're here, it's the end of times.
If you see this woman,
Awesome. Note to self.
get your affairs in order. No, I'm not trying to scare anybody out there.
It's the truth though. You're doomsday, and we love that about you.
I am. That is exactly what I mean. I've had other, psychics and everything try to explain to me that I was shadow. I was this aspect of source that was, dark. And I was like, what does that mean? But I didn't really understand what it meant. And it's not dark like we think dark. It was just, I, I'm there to help those in the end,
But I mean,
to transition. Yeah.
I think a common question that I ask now in sessions is because it's just, really important for people to know, have you been sold bullshit from anyone in a spiritual, reading or anything like that? Because, it's kind of almost feels like a rude question to ask, but oh my gosh, when the subconscious is like, yes, thank goodness, they've been told this nonsense from limited perspectives or ego.
Yeah.
Like we don't need to believe bullshit about ourselves when we are quite actively able to limit and block ourselves by ourselves. And so, you're here to have a session to profoundly channel for yourself the truth of you. And, sometimes it takes big courage to ask those big questions to, you know, even surprise the clients, because I know that wasn't one of your questions, it was one of mine, was about, is there any belief systems that you've been sold by anyone or told by anyone that isn't true? And, I mean, it's a big question to explore.
And well, I think, yes, I have for sure. There are many out there, but how can you compare? And I know a lot of people love their tarot readings. That God knows I've been up there with them for sure. I love tarot readings, but how can you compare someone giving their interpretation of some tarot cards to you actually dipping into your higher selves and getting detailed, exact answers?
Mm.
You know,
Well, I mean,
just
the thing is, and what we've kind of, we're talking about before, is that people don't want to heal because it keeps them occupied. I'm a victim. I'm in grief. I'm this. I'm this. I'm this. I'm not willing to heal because they have the suspicion once they heal, then they have to be of service. And what does that look like? Hard work. That looks like having to be there for others, to care for others, and all this sort of stuff. So it actually is a payoff to not heal. And to keep small and limited because they have this strong urge they're supposed to be doing something else for others, and it just feels so draining.
it's like I was woken up at 4:30 this morning. And I was like, ugh, I still can sleep for another hour. And then I realized what woke me up were my downstairs neighbors screaming at each other.
Really?
And so I said, okay, it's time to go to work. And so I started to send out that peace and balance that I have inside myself and send it downstairs. And I did that and talked to the guides and whatever I could do, and until it calmed down, because everything happens for a reason. People are put in your path for a reason.
Mm.
And that's what we're here to do. We're here to help lift those people like my downstairs neighbors that are looping and in that density.
Yeah. And you did the compassionate thing instead of just being angry and how dare they and you bloody assholes, and throw more, like, I mean, we all could have done that, right? We could have all judged them and hated them and sent them negative energy of our frustration because this is impacting us. Or you did the mature thing and send them love, compassion, empowerment, and all that sort of stuff. Like you kept your vibration stable. And that's hard when it personally impacts us. We don't know. We can easily feed off their negative energy and their aggression and go and match that and then trigger them to come together because there's a neighbor that's in their faces.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guarantee you, 2 years ago, I would have done just that.
Mm. post on Facebook, bloody neighbors, given your address, given the grievance. And it's so important. It's, we really need to be mindful of everything we do, everything we're posting online, and what are we truly doing, and what are we truly seeking when we do this. And I sort of feel like still, could be judgmental, but we only post on social media or any platform for two reasons. When at the bottom, like when you really boil it down to the true agenda, we're posting for two reasons. And one of the reasons is to give love, and the other reason is to get love. Now, we could be a victim to get love and attention. We could be, trying to do a whole lot of stuff to then to milk. I mean, just like the tragedies, right? I've seen a lot of people in trauma, and hashtag heartbroken, hashtag the poor victims of Turkey, hashtag life's so unfair, hashtag why me, hashtag donate to Red Cross, like all this stuff. And it kind of seems,
excuse me, over here, I feel the clamp.
But it's kind of like they want to be a victim by association, and they're not even in Turkey, but
that's not helping anybody.
Well, they think it's helping themselves because they're looking like they have got compassion, and that they that they're victims themselves, they're heartbroken, and they will constantly post horrific videos and footages just to prove to people how terrible they're feeling.
Wow, that's just bringing everybody else down. That's not helping anyone. It's not helping themselves. It's not helping others.
But so what is their motivation? Is it it's to traumatize people and to remind people of the tragedies, while also, and the thing is, it's ironic though, because you see what their response, like what responses they're getting, which is, oh my gosh, my prayers go out to you, the person posting, who's not in Turkey, who's just reacting to the news. So, shouldn't we be focusing on the actual victims? But I guess we all are victims, right? But it's kind of like the people that post these traumatizing, sad case sob stories, they're wanting the attention for them, and they're not empowering themselves, and they're reaching out for others. And that's fine. Like, we all are on this journey, but it's never about the real victims that are going through this. And it's certainly not a metaphysical, hey, fucking fantastic, they've graduated 3D, awesome, well done, wicked for them, anyway, there's so much to be said about it. But when we're looking to, when we are looking at our own behaviors and being responsible, why are we posting online, and what is our agenda? Are we trying to give love and empowerment to others, or are we trying to get love and attention from others? And it really needs to be, we're only accountable for our own selves, really. We're responsible for our own selves, but check. And I think this was part of my journey when I was, oh, I broke a nail, take a photo. Oh, I had to have an injection. I'm going to take a big close up of that injection site. You can see the blood. It'll be a video. I'm going to send you a video of my injection and the blood and the gore, and and like hashtag boo boo. Like those people are purposely seeking love and attention, and that's fine. We're there for it. Like, we can give them love and attention. Now, is this because they really are having a big struggle, or is this their constant way to get love and support?
Okay, so my question for you is this. It's great to give them that love and attention, but at what point are we disempowering them by constantly giving them the love and attention that they need to find within themselves?
Yeah. So for the example of the Turkey earthquake and the person being heartbroken and asking for donations and all that sort of stuff, and she lives in the States, and I know she's a practitioner. I mean, I met, instead of publicly sad face hashtag, heartbroken too, or whatever, I reached out to her directly and tried to empower her with a metaphysical perspective of, heard about the significance of Turkey in sessions. And, it's really good to know that they have graduated from 3D and that they have shifted, and this is like contracts, and this is all purposeful, blah, 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 blah. Her response to me is, but you live in New Zealand. How did you get information about Turkey in a session?
Okay, wow. I don't even know how to wrap my head around that question.
Well, so she's inspired
Well,
now
God can only be in one country at a time, Joanne. Oh,
yeah.
wow.
And so and it was kind of like, well, my clients are asking questions about this. And the subconscious wants to help us because we ask questions and they deliver the answers always, always, unless the subconscious says not time yet. And then I don't go, okay, cool, yeah, fair enough. I say, well, why? Why is it not time yet? What's happening? Why is it not time to give my client the answers for this now? And I'm like a little hound dog, and I just like dig, 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 dig until the subconscious will either say, because there's things that can still occur that it's still not set in stone yet, or they will say, in a work, the client's not ready to hear it all yet. And I'll say, well, what are they still needing to work on? What is it? What can they do to get ready and all that sort of stuff? So, you just become persistent.
Yeah,
So,
and I think my subconscious told me that I need to stop, because I'm like most people. I'm like, when's it gonna happen? When's it gonna happen? And they're like, that's distracting. Worry about today. Just focus on today. That kind of thing. So
mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, your subconscious, yeah, it was kind of like, I mean, yeah, they did sort of set not a time frame, but it was, I mean, without sort of saying exactly what they sort of said, it was like, we're not going to be prepared for it. We think we are, I mean, it's still going to shock us. It's never, whenever it happens, even if it's in years' time, it will still feel too soon when it happens.
yeah, I mean, subconscious did say that. I don't know if it's for me or for all, but it would be sooner than we realize.
Yeah. 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 And so, it's fun times. And of course, we've all got our own sort of, I don't want to say timeline because I don't so feel it like it is like that. But, we've got our own dates. And even if you and I shifted exactly the same time, my date's going to be different than your date just because of me being in New Zealand and you being somewhere else.
Yeah, and I could really get a sense of how strange time is when I was in one of my lives. I don't know if you call it past plus future life as a Pleiadian, looking down at old Earth. What may have lasted, you know, 2 or 3 years or whatever it's going to be, literally was just a couple of minutes. Me looking down, like
Mm.
it.
Yeah, because so for the audience who doesn't quite know, when you shift from this human form, what do you do and where do you go in terms of, is it heaven? What have you just shifted to a new dimension? Like, what did you notice when you shifted?
For me, I went back into my Pleiadian body.
Mm-hmm. And what is that? Where do you go? And um, I'm trying to.
I was hovering in a craft, spaceship, whatever you want to call it,
Mm-hmm,
in above the Earth's orbit, but
mm-hmm.
not in the third density. I believe it was the fifth density, maybe. I don't know. It was definitely not in third density, but I was kind of reeled back in and like with a cord back into my Palladian body.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so wild.
And so your subconscious was like, she's more advanced than a Palladian. But I mean, your subconscious was adorable. I have to say, it was kind of like, yeah, I'm just dumbing it down to be Palladian so I can get closer to being human to help this planet. And I was like,
Yes, I kind of jumped into a Palladian body so that I could jump into human bodies. So I'm playing the jump game.
she gets around. Now tell us quickly, because I know we've only got like a few more minutes left.
Okay.
Tell us about your first lifetime where you were a different shaped being and how did that planet history go?
Yes, and since that session, I've gotten a better picture of what I looked like, which is strange. I was a short gray alien with little wrinkly four-fingered hands, but since then I've recognized that my head was not what we on this earth always think of like the grays. it was like this big bulbous looking head. It was a very large head, very, very large head. How on earth I could walk around with that little head? I mean, that big head on that little body, I have no idea.
Mhm.
But yeah.
So you look kind of like, what is that ET called?
Yes. Yeah, like it was almost like an ET head. It was just this big, bulbous, almost behind looking head.
Mhm.
It was um but I sensed that I was on that planet with other beings other than myself. And
Mhm.
what's exciting is even on the Palladian ship, there were beings other than Palladians. So I really feel like this is a collaborative effort. The whole universe, you know, is just really a collaborative effort, which is exciting.
Yeah, and we sort of call those different types of beings different collectives, just because we don't really know all the names and labels of them. So we just, we try to explain it as different collectives, which is like different species, different beings physically, but at their core essence, they could still be advanced beings, advanced souls playing in those different bodies, which is awesome. And so you had the same sort of hands as we do as humans, but no thumb, but longer and gray skin.
No, in that life I had little tiny hands. Little tiny hands. The Palladian, it looked like it had larger hands, but this, I had a huge head and little bitty gray wrinkled hands. They were definitely not human. They were very small. My whole body was very small.
Do you
It's
think
just my
we
head was huge.
do you feel like you could have been quite older there though? Like maybe
Yes, I was thinking at first when I saw myself, oh, I must be this child, but I wasn't a child because I had a job. I was working, unless they have like these terrible
slave
child labor
labor.
laws on that planet.
I'd like to speak to your
Gonna have to
manager.
report them to the ACLU or something. But no, I was an adult, but I was in like a child sized body.
Hmm.
So
And did we get a sense of what you did for the majority of your time there?
um, I understood they were really making me focus on the sky in that particular memory. But I got the sense that I was there for some type of research, like I was in like working in like a laboratory.
Hmm. Is it true or not true that you released the COVID virus?
Um, maybe on that planet, maybe that's why they had to send the meteors in to clean the place up. But who
Sorry.
knows?
Oh, isn't it cute that that information's finally coming out now, for the mainstream media to like process. That's, there's a nice small disclosures that we sort of feel like should be huge and rippling out to every sort of, consciously aware human adult. But, these things take time for, others to be prepared for and to learn from. So, it's extraordinary, the disclosures. And so anyway, so you're on this planet doing some random research, but the moment that we jumped in was really kind of go time and show time, the end of that planet.
The end, yeah, there was a meteor shower that destroyed that planet.
Did I ask the subconscious if that must have been the life contract of that planet and the ending of it, right? Or was this a
Yes, it was
surprise?
natural. It was natural.
Mhm. And so the guides there would have known that that would have been the end. Do you think they would have been prepared for it?
Oh, I'm sure. And I'm sure that I was again there for that reason.
Mm.
I feel like that's probably why I was incarnated on that planet, to be there for the end.
And to remind me, it wasn't the end of that planet as such, but it was the end of the civilizations that were on there.
I don't know. I know for sure that it was
Uh,
end of civilization. Whether the
yeah.
whole planet was destroyed, I can't answer that.
And
Would have to ask
sure.
again.
And you got a sense that this was really a totally different era of the universe versus, say, like a neighboring planet.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm sure it's not in our solar system. I mean, it was very almost like Jetson looking like with the buildings. It really reminded me of the Jetsons with these big, tall metal towers and glass spheres on top of the towers. So it was very futuristic. Everything was very monochrome except for this beautiful sky. It's like in the middle of the day, the sky looked like sunset. It was just gorgeous,
Mm,
gorgeous.
fantastic. And so, yeah, you have got around, you've had some really awesome experiences, and your subconscious, main guide, whatever, was saying how, your skill set truly is to be here and to be, an Orse of planets at the end. And I feel like they were sort of saying, because you're not going to the new Earth, are you?
I am not.
Because you're leveling up. You then you've got a whole new a range of lessons and experiences, which we sort of were, humanly thinking you are going to be at some point, and I think this is what most souls will want to experience, being an actual planet, the soul of the planet.
Yes, I don't know if I'll be a planet again. I believe I have been a planet. They say many planets. I think the next thing I'm going to be, they showed me, was this basically prism of energy. And I don't know what purpose I will serve as that prism of energy, but it sounds very exciting.
It sounds shimmering.
Exciting. Yes, it was very colorful, very like just colors refracting off of this beautiful prism. I'm like, hey, and it looks a lot smaller than this body, so I'm very excited.
Shine bright like a diamond.
Yes.
It's so extraordinary. And so yeah, you're going to be busy doing that versus being on New Earth.
Yes, I will not directly go to be in that. Apparently, I have to um, record the ending of this planet first. I'll be hovering over in the atmosphere until there's nothing left to record.
I guess you're there for it. And it's important, right?
Sorry.
The full history of it, the full history of it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, it's extraordinary. Well, there's just so much to unpack from your session. So sorry for me kind of like exploring. I know we haven't fully discussed ourselves, and I know you've only listened to it once. And the best thing about these sessions is that they kind of give us these little like nuggets of information for us to then explore, and you will intuitively know what you should be exploring more, and what kind of is a beautiful conclusion to explanate why you're here, and all that fantasticness.
Yes, I'm excited to have another session, and I'm excited for us to have another conversation to talk about the stuff that we weren't able to reach in this conversation.
Yeah.
Because we are also moms, not just starseed. Some of us are moms. we have to take care of our human lives over here. So
Yeah, it kind of like humbles the courageous warrior princess who then has to fold her own washing.
exactly, and I have to give my child a bath. So
Heroes work. It's all
yes,
very manual
yes.
planet, this 3D, isn't it? It's very manual. Okay, great.
Yeah, and routine and odd. Yeah, compared to our other lives, it's very odd.
They do, the subconscious does sort of reflect on this as a holiday lifetime. I'm like, come down here and say that. Yeah.
Oh,
And we'll definitely have to explore more about you sensing being the higher self, and fractaling out. That was fantastic. That was very powerful.
yes, definitely the Big Bang. Yeah, yeah, definitely. We'll do this again whenever you're ready.
Awesome. Great. Okay. Well, thank you. And thanks for everyone for listening. And, I hope this inspires you and encourages you to realize how profoundly activating these sessions are, and drink more water and find interns. They're free.
Definitely. Please do.